Hello, welcome back space fans to this edition of Space Command. My name is Brian and we're going to be talking about some exciting developments that have taken place this week with the space industry. It's been a busy week and we're going to cover some exciting updates on the NASA's Commercial Crew Program for both SpaceX's Crew Dragon and Boeing's CST-100 Starliner. Also, we're going to cover an announcement made from Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 and their suborbital space tourism program, and more news about Elon Musk and SpaceX's Starlink satellite internet project. And we're going to check in on the progress of SpaceX's stainless steel starships, which are simultaneously being built and developed out of Boca Chica, Texas and Cocoa, Florida. Before we get started with that though, I do want to mention to you that it's been 3,019 days since the United States has been able to send American astronauts on American spacecraft to space. 3,019 days. Well, the last time we were able to do that was July 21st, 2011, when the Space Shuttle Atlantis landed for the last time and was retired and is now on display at Kennedy Space Center. So since that time we've been sending our astronauts to space on a Russian Soyuz capsule. We have to buy the seats for the Russian Soyuz capsule. It's $86 million per seat to send our astronauts up there. Hey NASA, did you know that SpaceX's Falcon Heavy lift rocket cost $90 million for the rocket? And we're paying $86 million per seat to send our astronauts to the International Space Station. And we're paying that to Russia. So, not a good deal. Not a good deal. Well, let's cover some space weather. Looking at some space weather here. Today on Mars, the day is Sol 2564, and the high temperature on Mars today is going to be negative 23 degrees Fahrenheit. The low is negative 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The weather is sunny. Of course, it's always sunny on Mars. And the sun rose this morning at 5:51 a.m. and the sun's going to set this evening at 5:34 p.m. The ultraviolet radiation index today on Mars is moderate, which is not too good. So if you're going out today, make sure you're going to want some sunblock, some sunglasses, and a coat. At negative 23 degrees Fahrenheit, you're going to need a coat. All right. Well, let's talk about some of these exciting developments which have taken place today in the space industry. First, involving NASA's Commercial Crew Program. Of course, NASA gave SpaceX $2.6 billion as part of the Commercial Crew Program to develop and build the Crew Dragon, SpaceX's Crew Dragon. And let's see here. The Commercial Crew Program was supposed to launch back in 2017. So delays and funding shortfalls from Congress have put the program way behind schedule. Way behind schedule. Well, what's going on is back in March we had the successful test flight of the Crew Dragon to the International Space Station. It was uncrewed. Nobody was on board except for a mannequin. And that test was successful and returned back here to the Earth. Coming up though, some critical tests and milestones that need to be completed. There's a test November 2nd at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. And what that test is for is a static fire test on the Super Draco engines. Of course, it's uncrewed, and what happens in a static fire test is the Crew Dragon capsule is mounted on the test stand, and what's going to happen is they will test the emergency abort engines, the Super Draco engines, and then that's all leading up to the eventual manned launch, hopefully in the first quarter, or hopefully in January of 2020 next year. So that's what we're leading up to here with these tests. And so we're going to do the static fire test on the Super Draco engines, and that'll be November 2nd. And then hopefully in mid-December we will launch an uncrewed Falcon 9 rocket with the Crew Dragon on top, mounted on top there, and that's for an in-flight abort test. And what they'll do is simulate a catastrophic anomaly with the Falcon 9 rocket while it's in flight, and the abort engines on the Crew Dragon will ignite the Super Draco engines and safely carry the astronauts, simulated astronauts, away from the Falcon 9 rocket. Parachutes will deploy, and then we'll have a splashdown. And again, that's uncrewed, unmanned, so we want to make sure that these systems are operating safely and correctly before we launch a manned mission with the Crew Dragon to the International Space Station. And that is going to launch NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to the International Space Station, hopefully, as I mentioned, in January. Because you know, we've been counting 3,019 days since we've been able to launch our astronauts into space. So this is exciting. We're getting there. Baby steps, we're getting there, step by step. So that's pretty exciting. I want to mention to you this test on the test stand for the Super Draco engines, the static fire test. That is very important because last April we had that catastrophic anomaly SpaceX did on the test stand, and it was uncrewed, so nobody was injured, but the Crew Dragon capsule exploded due to some hypergolic valve malfunctions, and some of the hypergolic fuel leaked and ended up causing that catastrophic malfunction where the Crew Dragon capsule exploded and was lost. So that's why this is a critical test and an important milestone to complete. So that's very exciting news on SpaceX's Crew Dragon. All right, well, next up, there was an announcement that Boeing, with its CST-100 Starliner, is ready for its uncrewed test flight, and that's the Demo 1 test flight. That, of course, SpaceX already conducted their Demo 1 test flight, and I mentioned that to you. That took place back in, what was it, March? I believe it was March. Yes, they had a successful test flight for Demo 1, SpaceX did, and it was successful. Now it's Boeing's turn, and so they're ready to launch this CST-100 Starliner crew capsule. To the International Space Station. It'll be unmanned, so there'll be nobody on board. It's it'll remotely dock with the International Space Station on December 17th, if all goes as planned. So that's pretty exciting right there too. Boeing is moving along with their commercial crew capsule as well. Let's see here. Another exciting development for Boeing is they unveiled their transport vehicle. Do you remember the Apollo program, and when even the shuttle program, when they transported the astronauts to the rocket to get ready for launch. It was in that Airstream, that silver Airstream RV looking camper like vehicle. Well, Boeing has unveiled their new Astrovan 2, and I'm going to put up an image here for you so you can see what it looks like. It's going to provide ground transportation for the astronauts to and from the to the rocket, and it's called the Astrovan 2 or Airstream. And that's going to be pretty exciting to see that come to fruition. So I'll put up an image of that. That's pretty cool. All right. This Astrovan or the Airstream resembles your standard commercial shuttle van, but it actually makes up for what it lacks in exterior design. It makes up for with the interior creature comforts. And the technology that's available inside there. Um, the exterior of the vehicle has a custom commercial wrap depicting Boeing CST-100 Starliner crew capsule. So it looks pretty sharp. It looks pretty sharp. Take a look at it here. All right. Well, some news out of Virgin Galactic. Uh, Virgin Galactic is operating out of Spaceport America in New Mexico. And this coming Monday, on October 28th, Virgin Galactic will become the very first publicly traded space tourism company on the New York Stock Exchange. And this is the brainchild of Sir Richard Branson. And they operate the Spaceship Two suborbital space plane, and for $250,000, they're going to take paying passengers on a 20-minute ride just past the edge of space. Or the Kármán line, and then glide back to the runway for a landing. And like I said, it's about a 20-minute ride into space. Get your astronaut wings, and then glide back to the Earth and land on a runway. Pretty exciting. Virgin Galactic is preparing to begin commercial operations in the first quarter of 2020, next year. Remember that common theme I mentioned? So that's just around the corner. We're getting there. We're getting there. All right. Well, also some exciting news about SpaceX's Starlink, the internet-based satellite system that SpaceX is launching. Elon Musk actually sent his first tweet using the space-based Starlink internet service. And earlier this year, Falcon 9 rocket delivered the first batch of 50 different satellites into orbit for testing. And 2 more Falcon 9 launches are planned this year for the remaining months of this year. And they're going to launch a couple more batches of satellites. And Starlink hopefully will be commercially available to start providing internet service next year in 2020. Gosh, there's that recurring theme again, next year. Well, it's coming. It's pretty exciting. So that's some good news there. All right, what else have we got going on? Checking in. Checking in with the SpaceX Starship, right? SpaceX's COO, Gwynne Shotwell, stated that SpaceX wants to send the first Starship to the moon before 2022. That'll be an unmanned mission, and that'll be followed by several subsequent missions to pre-position hardware and supplies on the moon before the Starship takes a manned mission to the lunar surface on or before 2024. So that is coming up fast. And the Starship prototypes that are being built in Boca Chica and Cocoa, Florida, Boca Chica, Texas, have some exciting possible testing dates. The residents there at Boca Chica have been notified of the impending tests for November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and November 7th, 8th, and 12th. I don't believe there'll be any launches on those particular dates. It's just going to be some testing, and so I don't know if those are, I doubt if those are flight tests, but they're probably actually system tests. So they're planning on the Mark I version of the Starship to launch a test flight in December, sometime in December. So that's pretty exciting. And then the last bit of exciting news that I thought I would mention to you is that here at Space Command, we received a NASA invitation for us to apply for a press pass or a social media pass or the social media credentials for to the NASA Kennedy Space Center on December 4th, 2019 to experience and document the launch of the SpaceX CRS-19 mission, which is the commercial cargo or the commercial resupply mission number 19. Where SpaceX will launch a cargo Dragon capsule on top of a Falcon 9 rocket, and that will deliver supplies to the International Space Station. Again, it's part of the commercial resupply mission, and so we're pretty excited about that here at Space Command. And with help from your financial support, from our supporters, we'll be able to fly out to Florida and secure accommodations for a few days, and then we'll return home to put together a broadcast documenting the experience for you. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your support, and hopefully we'll make it out there to Florida and be able to witness and document the launch of that mission from SpaceX to the International Space Station for the commercial resupply mission. All right, well, I think that pretty much covers all the exciting news this week. I want to thank you for joining us. If you like this video, click like, and if you'd like to see more videos like this one, click subscribe. All right, thank you.